getting to the front of the line with all their bills covered.
Absolutely. You must bow down to these people who then piss all over you. Dan Lyman, we'll talk to you tomorrow from Davos. Live coverage. God bless.
God bless. Cheers.
Follow him at europewars.com, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, speaking of what we just mentioned, we're going to show the French mayor getting in Macron's face next segment. And I'm going to show local news out of California where it's like, these Somalis are hungry. No one gives them food. This is on local news. It is not halal, the abuse. And it's these pissed off Somalis like, ah. But boy, you go to their country, you are dead in 5 minutes or wishing you were. Don't you worry, though. We love our Somalis. We love our Muslims, too. Oh, they're so good. Oh, they're so sweet. I'm gonna stab your daughter at the mall. Woo! Gonna stab your husband, gonna stab your son. And then the police chief gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims too. Oh, they so good, oh, they so sweet. Now, when we come back, remember, without your support, we will not be here. And the new product, Brain Force is amazing. It's a nootropic. Turbo Force is everything encompassed. The most powerful, next level, healthy energy drink on the planet. This is, from our research, the ultimate beyond energy drink, Turbo Force at InfoWarsLife.com. 33% off out of the gates. So here's KBPS with a breathless news reporter going, they are hungry. It's in San Diego. California, here they are. They are hungry. Yes, they can bring a lunch, but it's not halal. We brought them there from their devilish war zone where any American is killed, kidnapped, or raped instantly. And they came here and we were mean to them, just like the Native American, the red hats, were mean to them at the mall in D.C. And so let's go ahead and go to how horrible it is for the Somalis. Not that their genitals were cut off at birth. Not that they come from a war-torn hellhole of Islam. No, America was mean and did not make all the lunches halal for them. So here it is.
I want to see change in schools. I want to see my son a different style of food than what I...
How old's your son, lady? You look like you're 15. But I guess it is okay under Islam. So, sorry, let's start over with, I want to see my son eat. You did this to me, America. We kill your troops. And then you take us there and give us welfare. Sorry. Let's go back. Here we go.
I want to see change in schools. I want to see my son a different style of food than what I saw.
Shukri Abdi graduated from Crawford
High School. Pause. Back it up again. We weren't supposed to complain about Michelle Obama and the fact that it was worse than prison food. That's how you checkmate her. Just go Michelle Obama, Michael Obama, also known as Sir Tallywhacker. He says it's good for you, lady. So eat them. You don't actually get a pork chop. You get pork grease. It's a liberal. Identify. Just to make the pork chop magic. A wave a wand and transgender it and say it's lamb. My son will not eat what you slaves eat. Is that clear? Let's go back to her. Here she is.
Shukri Abdi graduated from Crawford High School in 2007 and now has a son in the district. She says she wasn't able to eat at school because the foods weren't halal. The hunger affected her studies.
Pause again. The hunger? You don't give me more. I can't pack lunch. Continue.
Adam Haji goes to the Kearney High Educational Complex and says packing a lunch is always an option, but a burden for low-income families. Many refugee children, including Haji, receive free and reduced meals at school.
I feel like the free reduced lunch is a waste. because you're providing me with the resources to get lunch because of my low income, but at the same time, you're not providing me with the lunch that I am supposed to be eating.
I anticipate that there will be some people who will object to it.
Adina Betnitsky is a sociologist at the University of San Diego and studies cultural health disparities. She went to bat for the local Muslim community.
Pause again. Hey, I wonder what happened if she got off on the ground in Somalia. She'd be kidnapped or raped real quick, which would be terrible. I wonder if they go to bat for me if I showed up and told them what I wanted to eat. But they'd be like, ha ha, ha ha. But that's okay. So let's continue.
Muslim community in 2012 when it called for the YMCA to offer special swim hours for Muslim girls.
Hey, pause again. Let's close the pool because we're going to wear swim burqas. You see how this works? Just like Europe. We're all guilty. Meanwhile, daddy's at home running a sex grooming brothel, but it's just their culture. Liberal. Okay, so I could joke around about this, but this is end of days level stuff. So without me commenting, let's just air the short newscast out of San Diego, where you're going to have special meals for the Muslims. You're going to shut down swimming pools for the Muslims. You're going to bend over for them. You're just going to absolutely submit to them. And the most radical Islamic situation out of Somalia, which they are like, basically, there's more Somalis living in the U.S. than in Somalia right now. And we've got our longest war there, 23 years. Americans are killed on sight. So let's go to this footage. Here it is.
I want to see change in the schools. I want to see my son a different style of food than what I saw.
Shukri Abdi graduated from Crawford High School in 2007 and now has a son in the district. She says she wasn't able to eat at school because the foods weren't halal. The hunger affected her studies. Fatima Adam Haji goes to the Kearney High Educational Complex and says packing a lunch is always an option, but a burden for low-income families. Many refugee children, including Haji, receive free and reduced meals.
Pause again. I'm sorry. It's a burden we took you here in your own welfare and everything's free. It's a burden. Everybody else has to eat like we eat. Because when we take over a country, you put a frickin' hijab on and you're dead. There aren't Muslim countries where they let other people live in them. Other than like Jordan or Syria, and our government's trying to overthrow those. So again, man, I am just so sick of it. Let's continue.
And reduced meals at school.
I feel like the free reduced lunch is a waste because you're providing me with the resources to get lunch because of my low income, but at the same time, you're not providing me with the lunch that
pause again. Why the hell can't your family make some money? Why are 90% of you on welfare and then you hate it so much? Why do your countries be hellholes of sex slavery and all this? Why? Why do we have to be like you? Why do we have to fall? Why? We want space bases. We want life extension. We don't cut women's genitals off. But we've got to do it because the left has said so. Let's continue.
With the lunch that I'm supposed to be eating.
I anticipate that there will be some people who will object to it.
Adina Betnitsky is a sociologist at the University of San Diego and studies cultural health disparities. She went to bat for the local Muslim community in 2012 when it called for the YMCA to offer special swim hours for Muslim girls. That sparked a contentious conversation about Sharia law and assimilation. Betnitsky says offering a halal option at schools has nothing to do with...
Pause again. It's all over Europe. They literally shut the pools down sometimes for a whole day because you've got to submit to them. Half of Europe got taken over by them. They don't assimilate. They take you over. Continue.
And everything to do with public health.
If these children are not given the opportunity to eat foods that are congruent with their religion,
pause. They're not given. They're not given. You know, the Amish go out and live by themselves so they can do it the way they want. We let them do it. You sit there and you bring these people in, you know full well as a sociologist, it's your job to break up culture. And that's what you're doing. Continue.
That are congruent with their religion, then they're either going to not eat, which of course is not conducive to learning, or alternatively, they're going to focus on eating only foods that they're familiar with, that follow their dietary restrictions, and that's often junk food, that you can easily read the ingredients and say, okay, this would be all right. But I don't think we want our children just to be eating potato chips all day.
San Diego Unified officials.
That means a imam has to come bless all the food and certify it, and the school has to, and then the animals have to have their throats slowly slit and die over several hours. You will serve us well. Good for you. Sorry, let's go back to the Young Turks broadcast. Let's hear what they have to say to us about our women. We'll take care of you closely now. Continue, please.
San Diego Unified officials would not comment on the halal campaign, but have met with the City Heights group. The district already offers vegetarian options, which, by the way, aren't always halal thanks to processed salad dressing.
They're not halal.
And there is a precedent for halal school lunches. Schools in Dearborn Heights, Michigan already offer them to their many Somali students.
Hey, pause. Yeah, because it's all Somali. They take over. So here's the thing. There's never enough submission, because Islam means submit. Continue.
San Diego district decides to do the same, there's a good chance non-Muslim students won't really notice. On the menu back at Jamie Oliver's Big Rig, something called All-American Pancakes. The least American thing about it, no side of bacon.
Don't have bacon here, so you're going to do what we say. We're going to go to break and let Paul take over. Paul Joseph Watson, Loaded for Bear. Please support us, InfoWarsStore.com. We have the new amazing Turbo Force. Blows everything away. That's how we fund our operation. But let's go out to break with the politically incorrect song. We love our Somalis. Here it is.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people. They're a bunch of Christian murderers scum. They're on giant death factories keeping babies alive. Selling their body parts. What more do you need to know about these people? I go out and face these scum. They literally crawl out from under us. They have green looking skin and they run around screaming, we love Satan, we wanna eat babies. I have them on video.
I love Satan, so cute. I kill my kids.
Hillary's in the creepy weird sick stuff, man.
We came, we saw, he died.
She sleeps in the same room with that creepy weird woman whose mother wears a hood over her head. What the hell? That woman number one is ugly. Imagine how bad she smells, man. I'm told her and Obama just stink. Obama and Hillary both smell like sulfur.
There's a guy on the radio who apparently Trump's on his show frequently. He says me and Hillary are demons. Said we smell like sulfur. Ain't that something?
I have never seen or smelled any woman like that, ever.
People are telling me she smells.
Who could not notice someone who smelled that bad?
Literal vampire pot and goblins hobbling round coming after us. My spirit gets close to that evil and I feel it go. We're such self-centered crap. We don't even notice hell itself rising up against us. Millions of pointed people of the very worst type, and I'm so pissed. We're gonna stare your daughter at the mall. Oh, oh, oh. We're gonna stare your wife, your son. We're gonna stab you with a butcher knife, and then the police chief is gonna say, we love our Somalis, we love our Muslims, oh they're so good, oh they're so sweet.
All right. Paul Watson takes over on the other side of this quick break. This is the globalist takeover of America. We are fighting back. Please don't forget this hour is brought to you by the next level of Brain Force. Brain Force is amazing, a bestseller, the most popular, top brands. We researched them, made them better at a lower price. This is Turbo Force, beyond energy drinks, the healthy alternative, turbocharged with all these natural ingredients that will take you to the next level with all the vitamins, the minerals, the amino acids with these packets. I recommend, though, that you only take a half packet the first time you take it. You not take it afternoon because you'll be up for 10, 12 hours. This is the key to Turbo Force is that it's slow burn. It hits quick, but it's designed to metabolize over 8 hours or so. So it doesn't have the crash. This is the next level, and it funds our operation. InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Turbo Force. Got a lot of great products, InfoWarsStore.com. Turbo Force is the newest, and I believe will become the #1 energy pre-workout, whatever you want to call it, amazing next-level sports drink. Turbo Force, InfoWarsLive.com. Secures yours today.
Well, 2019 has already seen 3 giant media hoaxes, at least 3 giant media hoaxes. Of course, a few weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, we had the conservatives triggered over Ocasio-Cortez dancing because everybody was enraged and furious about that, right? No, they weren't. That was a completely false set-up media narrative. Of course, on the weekend, on Friday night, we also had the Trump ordered Cohen to lie about Trump Tower Moscow BuzzFeed fake news story. Again, turned out to be completely false. And then, of course, just a day later, or less than 48 hours later, we had the Covington High School MAGA kids. And another element of that story is collapsing right now. The claim that the Native American activist Nathan Phillips served in Vietnam. He didn't. Now, let's go back to his CNN interview. I've got a quote from this here I'm going to read right now. This was from his original CNN interview. He said, "I'm a Vietnam veteran." He's not a Vietnam veteran. The Washington Post has had to issue yet another retraction after falsely claiming that the far-left Native American activist, and he is a paid activist, Nathan Phillips, served in the Vietnam War. He didn't. But this lie was previously used to help raise money for a documentary about his life. Not only was it used for that, it was used to give him credibility over the MAGA kids, to give him the impetus, to give him the gravitas that they used to force through his lie that he was confronted by them, that he was mobbed by them, which we've established now was a complete hoax. So now it turns out that not only is he a professional political activist, he was never in the Vietnam War, and the Washington Post has had to admit that. They said, correction. Earlier versions of this story incorrectly said that Native American activist Nathan Phillips fought in the Vietnam War. Phillips served in the U.S. Marines from 72 to 76, but was never deployed to Vietnam. So yet another aspect of this story, cooked up by the media, this fake news narrative, has completely collapsed. He was never in Vietnam. Absolutely incredible. Then we have this video, which is the 8-second video, which you can roll right now. I'll talk over it, which has gone viral on Twitter yet again. Will they ever learn about taking things out of context and exploding and going insane over video clips that have no context, that don't prove anything? This is an 8-second video clip where some MAGA kids at the scene of the same confrontation that we've been talking about for the past 3 days shouted MAGA at this woman walking past them. Oh my God, the horror. They shouted MAGA. You've literally got the left embracing and encouraging Antifa, beating people up with flagpoles, spitting on disabled people. We've seen the mass violence across the country over the past 2 years. We've got the left continuously encouraging punching people in the face if they have a different political opinion. Oh, but some kids yelled the word MAGA and they're having an absolute meltdown. This video's got 8.43 million views in less than 24 hours. The Covington Catholic boys harassed my friends and I before the incident with Nathan Phillips even happened. I'm tired of reading things saying they were provoked by anyone else other than their own egos and ignorance. 203,000 likes. The absolute horror. Again, it's an 8-second clip. She's already walked past them, so you don't know if she initiated the confrontation because there's no video of it. Again, they're taking it out of context. But 78,000 retweets, 8.43 million views. Absolutely incredible. And again, this is the same left that endorses punching people in the face if they have a different opinion. But now they're having a collective panic attack because some kids shouted MAGA from a distance. Over 8 million views, again, having not learned their lessons. Absolutely incredible situation. But some people do seem to be learning a lesson, and maybe this is a teachable moment. We have this article out of Breitbart. Joy Behar of The View. Covington students attacked because we're desperate to get Trump out of office. And on The View, I think it was earlier today, she admitted, Whoopi Goldberg asked her, they were talking about why everyone rushed to judge these MAGA kids, why there was a snap judgment. Whoopi Goldberg asked Joy Behar, why do we keep making the same mistake? As in rushing to conclusions, demonizing people, witch hunting people. And she admitted, quote, because we're desperate to get Trump out of office. That's why. So we've finally got a scintilla of leftist self-awareness. Trump derangement syndrome, they're finally acknowledging that they've got it. They say the first step to, combating alcoholism is to accept it, is to embrace it. Now they're finally embracing Trump derangement syndrome and acknowledging that that's why they react in such an incendiary way to every drummed up fake controversy. Absolutely incredible. So we've had 3 major media hoaxes in 2019, and this latest one continues to collapse. And many people have pointed out, as I did in an article, oh, by the way, that 8-second video, I forgot to tell you the main part of this, which came out immediately after. The woman who posted this video, which has got over 8 million views, over 200,000 likes, over 78,000 retweets, again, pushing the narrative that they're bigoted, that they're racist, that they're harassing her. Well, people dug through her old tweets, and let's just say I can't even say them on air. A lot of N-words, quite a few N-words in her old tweets. She locked down a Twitter account because, again, she's N-word this, N-word that. It's all over the place. The article up on Gateway Pundit also points out she doesn't like black or Asian babies. She's making some very incendiary, offensive comments over those. And again, a lot of N-words. She's talking about how she feels about Mexicans. She said, in 2 weeks, I'm 21, and in 2 weeks, I'm on vacation from Mexicans. Again, I don't even know if I can read this, but again, basically just casual racism. Romney is such a effing F word. I can't even hashtag sorry. It's just all over the place. She deleted the tweets, locked down her Twitter account. Oh no, but those kids are terrible because they shouted the word MAGA after she'd already walked 10 paces past them. That's abusive harassment. Meanwhile, we've literally got people wishing these students to be burned alive, locked in their school and burned alive. What happened to his account? We featured that story yesterday. This was a musician on top of people like Kathy Griffin. This guy had 32,000 followers. He was called @HouseShoes on Twitter. I think that was his handle. Literally calling for these kids to be gunned down, to be set on fire, for their school to be blown up. This guy right here, Uncle Shoes, quote, if you're a true fan of Shoes, I want you to fire on any of these red hat B-word when you see them on sight. He later walked that back pathetically and said, oh, where I'm from, fire on means to punch somebody. Like that makes it okay anyway. But no, obviously it doesn't. You were literally calling for these kids to be gunned down. That guy is still on Twitter. Laura Loomer gets banned for criticizing female genital mutilation. This guy calls for children to be gunned down in cold blood, for schools to be blown up. His Twitter account is still perfectly active. Nobody's been punished for this. Nobody's been suspended. Nobody's been banned. But the guy who smirked, the child who smirked, continues to be vilified. We'll be back. We're live. It is the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. And before I get back into some more news, and we are going to talk about a few other subjects than the Covington High School debacle, even though it continues to rumble on day after day with, again, different aspects of the same fake news narrative collapsing again and again. First, I want to tell you about our exciting new product, and I can't wait to get my hands on some of this personally. It is Turbo Force from InfoWars Life, the healthy energy drink alternative, and we're launching a special mammoth 33% discount right now at InfoWarsStore.com. Everyone knows most energy drinks are bad for you and make you crash hard. Turbo Force is the ultimate energy drink alternative that's actually good for you. It contains 200 milligrams of naturally occurring caffeine, key vitamins, minerals, and patented ingredients that are designed to boost your natural systems and deliver energy straight into the body. Most other energy drinks have 400 milligrams or more of caffeine. but they're loaded with toxic ingredients and sugar that burns dirty and quick. I've been looking for an alternative to the energy drink that I consume, after exercise or just before exercise. And here it is. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Turbo Force is the real deal. And it's available right now for 33% off. It supports your metabolism, increases focus and alertness, and of course gives you that boost of energy without the caffeine sugar crash that most other energy drinks unfortunately do. It is Turbo Force. It's available right now at InfoWarsStore.com at a massive 33% discount. Stock up on Turbo Force today. Please support this network. We need your support now more than ever. Turbo Force available at InfoWarsStore.com. Now, let's get more into the Covington scandal, because again, it continues to rumble on. There's actually a really good article at The Week, which is not a right-wing publication by any stretch of the imagination, by Damon Linker, titled How Twitter Could Be the Death of Liberal Democracy. And he draws parallels, as I did in my video released yesterday, to George Orwell's 1984. He writes, quote, in 1984, George Orwell famously described a totalitarian political order in which people were kept as docile subjects in part by a daily ritual called the 2 minutes of hate. You probably remember the scene from the movie, which was in my YouTube video yesterday, in which the population directs all of its pent-up fury at Goldstein, a possibly fictional enemy of the state. Now, in relation to this, he comes out with this quote, which I thought was very prescient. He says, extreme partisan polarization is combining with the technology of social media, and especially Twitter, to provoke a form of recurrent political madness among members of the country's cultural and intellectual elite. What else could explain the frothing, demented outbursts that we've seen over the past 3 days and continue to see, even though this story has been completely debunked? There you see the scene out of I think it's the John Hurt version of 1984, the 2 minutes of hate, which is basically what Twitter has become on a daily basis. And on the subject of Orwell's 1984, we got this headline up at Infowars.com. MAGA kid was persecuted for committing face crime. It's actually in Orwell's dystopian classic, Part 1, Chapter 5, quote, the smallest thing could give you away, a nervous tic, an unconscious look of anxiety, a habit of muttering to yourself, anything that carried with it the suggestion of abnormality, of having something to hide. In any case, to wear an improper expression on your face, to look incredulous when a victory was announced, for example, was itself a punishable offense. There was even a word for it in Newspeak. Face crime, the smirk heard around the world, that is an example of face crime, because even after the whole narrative collapsed, the claims that the Covington high school students had surrounded the Native American activist, had mobbed him, had intimidated him, had harassed him, even after all that collapsed, you still had leftists across Twitter, across social media, expressing, once again, their demented Trump derangement syndrome, being so offended at the mere sight of this young man's facial expression. In fact, there was a tweet which kind of sums it up here from another verified liberal on Twitter called Jeffrey Grubb. He said, giving a shit eating grin to a Native American's face isn't legally violence, but he is smiling about the violence. He is saying, my people hurt you, and you can't touch me even while I gloat about it. It is fascism, and you should punch fascists. So not only is that guy completely demented and off his rocker, he's also apparently a mind reader, because he knows that that is what the young man was thinking when he gave that smirk. Do you really think he was stood there thinking that he's happy about the violence meted out, decades and decades before his parents probably even born, to Native Americans? No. But again, just an example of the absolute incendiary explosion of nonsense that came out in the aftermath and continues to come out, where a mere smirk is fascism, where a mere smile is an example of Orwellian face crime. And instead of Big Brother enforcing this against dissidents, you have leftists across Twitter enforcing it. Absolutely incredible. From the article, In essence, that's precisely what Sandman was persecuted for with his infamous smirk, since he merely stood his ground and adopted an expression, at no point attempting to provoke or get in Nathan Phillips' face. And again, in the video that I put out yesterday, numerous examples where leftists on Twitter had absolute panic attacks, meltdowns, toys out of the pram over Sandman's expression alone, even after the entire rest of the narrative had collapsed. Absolutely incredible. We're now at the point where a red hat and a smile makes you a fascist, because, of course, in 2019, everyone's a fascist. They also tried to run another fake news narrative last night, and this is the Cernovich tweet, which is a video which I sent, if you want to play that in the background, where they got this screenshot from a video of some of these kids from this school apparently in blackface. Oh my God, they'd caught them. They'd got the boot polish out. Actually turns out that it was a theme. They've had businessmen, they've had nerds, they've had a beach theme, they've had a hunting theme, they've had a blue out theme, and they've had a blackout theme. There you see the blue out. So they had a blackout theme at, I think it was a basketball game, where they all wore black. And a few of these boys also, their entire bodies were basically black. So again, the media took this, the Twitterati took it and spun it and said that these kids were dressing up in blackface to scream racist abuse at black, I think it was basketball players in this instance. Within half an hour, that claim had been demolished, and yet still thousands and thousands of retweets, thousands of likes on these tweets claiming that these teens had blacked up to racially abuse African Americans. Have they not learned anything? Taking everything out of context, making snap judgments, and then hounding their victims in this witch hunt mob outrage crescendo. They still haven't learned anything. This should have been a teachable moment, because the narrative has completely blown up in their faces, yet they still continue to do it. As I said in the previous segment, with this new video that came out this morning, where a group of the same kids at the same site of the confrontation literally just shouted MAGA from a distance at this woman who had already walked past them. Whatever context the video had was stripped out, because she'd already walked past them by the time we saw any of the video. So we don't know what interaction they had before that, whether she provoked them. But besides the fact, oh my God, they shouted MAGA. And apparently now MAGA, saying the word MAGA, wearing a red hat, or God forbid, smiling in the presence of somebody who is not white. That's not just a racist microaggression. That's literally fascism. Literally fascism. This is the level of insanity, of hysteria we've now reached in America, thanks to the media ginning this up at every available opportunity. We'll be back on the other side of the segment. This is the Alex Jones Show Live, breaking news at Infowars.com. Don't go away. We're back for the final segment of this fourth hour. Remember, War Room is coming up next. And before I get into a few final news stories here, again, I want to direct you to InfoWarsStore.com, where we have the brand new exciting product. It is the energy drink Turbo Force, available right now for 33% off. This is our discount launch special. Turbo Force is the ultimate energy drink alternative that's actually good for you. Doesn't have the rush of caffeine and sugar that a lot of the similar energy drinks do. It's got the right balance to give you the right burst of energy to kick you into high gear so you can get through your workout, and to improve your focus and your alertness on top of that. Again, can't wait to get my hands personally on a supply of Turbo Force, the brand new energy drink, available at 33% off right now at InfoWarsStore.com. Please go there and check out Turbo Force today. Now, I'm going to get into a few final news stories. Of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has come out and said, the world's going to end in 12 years. Yes, she literally said that. I've got the quote right here. I think the part of it is that generational, is that millennials and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. Do you want to bet? Do you want to bet? Okay, I've been looking at this for the past, 15 plus years. I've been reading about climate change alarmism. And this stretches back way before that. This stretches back decades to the likes of Paul Ehrlich and all these global warming eugenicists. He said in 1968, okay, that the British Isles, that Great Britain would be under water by the 1980s. Wrong. Yet he's still cited as an expert in man-made climate change. The guy who said Britain would be underwater by the 1980s. How many times do they have to get it wrong again and again and again until we say, well, you can't be trusted anymore? Acid rain, remember that? In fact, I think it was Jack Posobiec posting about this today, other people too. Scaremongering magazine articles from the late 80s about how acid rain was going to cause mass tree die-offs. It didn't. Again, another completely inaccurate, baseless, alarmist prediction about climate change that did not come to pass. Al Gore saying that the Arctic would be ice-free, that the ice would all melt by 2014. Did not happen. Did not happen. You remember the destructive global cooling scare of the 1970s. Newsweek magazine and others reporting that not global warming, but global cooling would cause a massive environmental catastrophe. Did not happen. Again, because the climate is mainly driven by sun activity. So again, that's when we had a period of warming immediately after the global cooling scare, another alarmist prediction that proved to be completely false. So, I mean, AOC's prediction that the world's going to end in 12 years is not even that much more alarmist than what they've already said for decades and been proven completely inaccurate on. Gateway Pundit reports, flashback, like Ocasio-Cortez, Al Gore warned of global warming disaster in 12 years. 12 years ago this week. 12 years ago, junk scientist Al Gore released his award-winning movie, An Inconvenient Truth. Remember, in which they said polar bears couldn't swim. He warned the audience back then, 12 years ago, global warming is about to toast our ecology and our way of life. In January 2006, Gore posited, within the next 10 years, the world will reach a point of no return. Okay, that's past. And a true planetary emergency due to global warming, because, of course, he was invested in all the carbon tax stock options. Of course, this turned out to be nothing more than PR BS to push his movie. And they linked to 8 dire predictions from that movie, which were completely wrong. 10 years ago, Gore predicted the North Polar ice cap would be completely ice-free in 5 years. Gore made the prediction to a German audience in 2008. Did not happen. How many times do they have to be wrong before we stop listening to these idiots? Speaking of idiots, speaking of elitist idiots, the same ones who fly to Davos in private jets while lecturing the rest of us about, you know, not having baths. Walls armed guards protect Davos elite. This is InfoWars Europe. Global elite meeting in Davos, Switzerland are relying on walls and armed guards to protect them. I thought walls were racist. I thought walls were a nationalistic, populist, bigoted thing. Obviously not if you're a member of the global elite and you want to be protected from all the plebs, who, by the way, are furious about them returning to Davos in their limos as they lecture the rest of us again about man-made climate change. Meanwhile, France builds Trump-style wall to stop illegals getting to Britain. Yes, the same France under the jurisdiction of globalist Emmanuel Macron, who lectures the United Kingdom about Brexit being racist, who lectures Donald Trump about walls being racist. Well, now, French authorities have built a 10-foot wall at a total station in Calais used by migrants who attempt to storm lorries and break into Britain. It's almost like walls work. It's almost like they actually work. Macron and Merkel booed before signing European Army Treaty. And the video is in the article on Infowars.com. Angela Merkel and Emmanuel Macron were booed during the signing of a treaty that takes another giant leap towards establishing a European army. Yet another thing that the globalists, that the technocrats lied to us about, oh, it's just a free trade zone. It's never going to be anything more than that. Not going to be a federal superstate. Not going to be European army. Now they're signing treaties which cause a vast lurch towards a European army. Absolutely incredible. The yellow vest there in Germany, not too happy about it. They were booed, heckled, and jeered during this opening ceremony as they went in to sign the treaty. Of course, Macron's got a 23% approval rating. There have been violent riots and protests on the streets of France for the past 10 weeks, and yet he still continues in the course of globalism. as does Angela Merkel, who, of course, last year, as we highlight in this article, attended an event called Parliamentarianism in the Tension of Globalization and National Sovereignty, where she said, quote, nation states should be willing to give up their sovereignty, and this should be done via an orderly process. And that's precisely what she's doing today in Germany by signing a treaty with Macron to establish a global European army as they're booed by their own citizens. Meanwhile, staying in France, French Mayor blisters Macron, mass immigration must be ended. French President Emmanuel Macron was warned about the wrath he's incurring by showering migrants with preferential treatment and resources during a town hall attended by some 600 mayors from around the country. This was Brigitte Barget, the mayor of Montauban, who spoke on behalf of forgotten French citizens who've now been protesting in the streets for more than 10 weeks and are often smeared as far-right or violent extremists. He said, quote, mass immigration must be ended. He cited citizens' concerns in their Cahier de doléances, a log of grievances being compiled as part of a national grand debate. He said, the people who are at the roundabouts feel deprecated, forgotten by the Republic. They express themselves by singing the Marseillaise when they're marching. They aren't vandals, rioters. I hosted them in my town hall. Those are poor people. So again, you do have some people taking over these riots in France who are doing it for their own reasons and not the right reasons, spoiling the image of the yellow vest. But again, as this mayor pointed out, the vast majority of them have very legitimate grievances and have not engaged in direct violence. Meanwhile, in Belgium, 6 migrants kidnapped and held Belgian woman as slave for months. Italian authorities, actually in Italy, but it's a Belgian victim, are investigating claims of a 32-year-old Belgian woman who says she was kidnapped by 6 migrants and forced into sexual slavery for 2 months. Yet another story about that. It never ends. Transgender epidemic in the UK. 1 child changes gender every day. A non-issue and normal, says PM Theresa May. So listen to these stats. Most of the kids who are going transgender are either 14 or 15. The number of children aged between 3 and 18 being referred to gender identity clinics went from 314 in 2011, just 8 years ago, to 2016 in 2016. And now there's been an even greater increase on top of that. So could it possibly be this consistent media narrative that transgenderism is completely normal for children and that it should be pushed on children? Is that having an effect in making these children fall into this transgender myopia, whereas otherwise they wouldn't be interested in it whatsoever? And of course, it's parents trying to be all trendy, trying to be really progressive, pushing their own warped mentality onto children, as we see in this case right here, the amazing Desmond, or whatever he's called. Absolutely incredible. That was a good point pointed out by somebody on Twitter. The national media encourages this kind of thing. You know, drag queens and transgender kids. This is supposedly healthy for society, but a kid, a high school kid, standing up, smirking, doing absolutely nothing wrong, that is abhorrent behavior. This is the complete disconnect we currently see in Western society, and it's only getting worse. That's going to wrap it up for the 4th hour of the Alex Jones Show. Coming up next, War Room with Owen Schroyer. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Breaking news at Infowars.com. We'll be back.